Well, welcome everybody anyway to the latest George's Cafe. And, we've only, as George said, we've only had one question, and that was from Graham Waite. Now he's the past president of the society, but many of you may know that he actually worked a great deal in Spain, and he worked building dams. He's in charge of a couple of dams, and he used dowsing to help him in the construction process. And now he's, I would say, semi-retired, but he's still involved with the dowsing fraternity in Spain, and they've gone from building dams to looking for certain chemicals in the rocks. So what I'm going to do, first of all, this question is rather technical and quite industrial jargon, a lot of industrial jargon in it, I believe. And Graham can't be here tonight to explain any of the terms, but I'll just show you what he's asking. I'll share the screen. Okay. So it starts off, at present, dealing with lithium extraction from toxic volcanic brine in the outfall of the Rio Tinto mining system in Huelva. The team here used rods, then a Berber dipping rod. Once located in the shallow waters, the raw materials are collected and end up in the University of Malaga for assay, then to Madrid. This work of dowsing is good under present weather conditions, but a winter course of training is envisaged to locate spodumene in volcanic rocks in an area east of Malaga, which is another source of lithium. As a dowser for the last 75 years, any thoughts or assistance on rock investigation using normal dowsing tools will be most helpful, as most of our search areas are at least 45 degrees or even vertical. We use many variations on dipping rods, and a variety are used to locate voids in large escarpments when dam building is being considered in the region of Granada. Some ideas, please. Okay. I'll stop there if I can stop sharing. And come back to the room.
Has anyone shown that to Peter Taylor?
I could ask Peter. Yeah,
Well,
he would be a good,
because Peter's got a lot of experience with dowsing minerals.
Yeah.
And he's been doing, well, last time I was with him, that wasn't at the conference, he was doing a lot of work on locating sites where these rare minerals are found, because he was envisaging a time when we're going to need them and that they're in short supply. So I would suggest that it would be worth his while contacting Peter and see what Peter has to say.
Yes, that's a good idea, Sue. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Graham mentioned Berber rods. Now, we brought one to the conference about 3 or 4 years ago to give a demonstration, because he employs Berbers to actually, I believe they come from North Africa. I'm not quite sure what country it is, but they're known as Berbers. And they're skilled with a long rod, which is made of sugarcane, so it's probably about 5 or 6 feet long, and I think there is a piece of metal at the end of it, and they use those for dowsing voids before they actually fill the water in the dam. Quite an interesting aspect of it, depending.
Can't hear it as well as this.
Say again, sorry. Yeah, something like that, David, I would say.
You may have to sign in
How long is that, David?
to do it.
Just come out of it.
It's about 2 foot.
Okay.
That's-
Someone should be muted. We're hearing their conversation.
Sorry, Janet, say again.
Somebody called Dorothy, and I think we're hearing background noise.
Sorry, I'm having trouble with my Zoom thing. I've got a new tablet and I can't seem to, it's not the same as the old one. So I'll keep quiet, but keep listening, all right?
Yes, so that's about 2 foot long. It's got a brass ball on the end to give it a bit of weight. And it's made of some sort of fiberglass. It's a very thin tent pole type. So it's, I have no idea how to use it, but I've got one.
Okay.
Very good.
That was going to be my next question for you, David.
No, I've got an array of various types of rod. The latest one is this one.
Hmm.
Sorry, I can't see that, Barry.
It's upside
Oh.
down. Normally they'd be that way up, but I like them that way up. And it's got a compass in the top, and it's quite heavy, and it's folds up, goes in your pocket,
Very good.
which is much easier than this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I need to do it tomorrow. Okay. Shut it down.
But
And
it
have you
doesn't-
found, have you
doesn't
used it? Have you used that, Barry? Do you use it for anything in particular? David, sorry.
for dowsing mostly.
Yeah, but for dowsing anything in particular, or
Anything.
Sorry.
Well, it doesn't really matter. It all
No.
works. On the one that you may have seen before is Hissing Sid. I get a lot of rude comments about that one, which is always good fun. I've got another little bobber there. That's the, you know, these buoying things that stop doors opening too far.
yeah.
Yeah, that's just mounted on a piece of wood with a bit of brass for a weight on the end. To me, it really doesn't matter what you use. It's the questions you ask, and it's just getting to know the response to whatever tool you're using.
Well, Graham Waite has just come into the waiting room, so this should be interesting. Let him
Oh,
in.
great.
There he is. Hello, Graham.
Did we tell Dorothy we could hear her tap dancing on her desk?
I'm trying to mess around here with two laptops.
Yeah, looks like Graham. Oh, there he is. Graham, can you hear us? Hello, Graham. Hello, Graham.
Richard.
Hello. Welcome. We've just been talking about you.
Oh, hopefully all wrong.
I shared your question. I'll put it back on the screen so you can see what I turned it into.
Seems fine.
I was just explaining about the Berber dipping rod, what it was like. Can you just make sure I got it right? It's like a 6 foot length of sugarcane.
Yes, that's correct.
What's on the end of it?
A piece of stone off the beach.
Okay. And am I right in saying that that the Berbers use these to find the voids under the dam before you fill it with water?
They use it to find anything. It goes one way for them and one way for us, and it goes up and down for all people.
Okay. So the problem you've got is that you're trying to douse on a cliff face, is it? Which is 45 degrees or vertical.
Sometimes it's quite steep, sometimes it's fairly flat, sometimes it goes up the side of a mountain.
Okay. So what is it you're looking for then? This
Mainly the people here look for lithium at this moment in time. But using a Berber rod, you can look for cracks in large, or fissures in large structures such as mountains. And that is vital if you're going to build a dam.
okay. Someone suggested that we had a chat with Peter Taylor, because he's quite experienced at finding rare metals, isn't he?
Well, I know Peter. I knew Peter years back before he lost his wife. Lovely guy from North Wales, lovely fella. But we're holding this system that we have here really into up onto a different level. We're not the knitting group. We are very much hands-on with looking for things.
Yeah. Okay, come back.
Graham, could you explain, please, how you locate the cracks in the rocks using the long rod? I mean, I've done it walking across ordinary terrain with ordinary pair of L rods. How do you use the long rod for that? Is that for places where you can't walk, or please explain a bit more.
Let me take you back in time 15, 20 years. My wife and I lived in Langland, which is on the Gower coast, and we lived on a limestone escarpment.
Mm-hmm.
The escarpment used to provide blowholes everywhere, sometimes in the middle of a road, sometimes under a house. There were more houses knocked down because of blowholes. The council, in their wisdom there now, even though we reported our findings to the council, decided to build 34 houses on a field which is called the Well Field. We are very sorry that the council have decided to do this, because we know that the field, at the bottom end of the field, there was an old area where there was a blowhole. Now 2 new blowholes have appeared in the field where they're building, and one alongside the road, which they've just replaced. These are fractures in limestone, or fractures in any form of stone. And whatever you do with these fractures, either you fill them totally, but if you fill them totally and they're in a tidal condition, you will find when you stand on top of a blowhole on the cliffs on the Gower coast, all of the blackberries will fly up in the air 20 feet and then come back down as the sea comes rolling in 100 feet below it. This we've watched for years and years and years, and we know where all the blowholes are. It's not rocket science. It's just dowsing.
Mm.
What do you use to find those, Graham? Just L rods?
Beg your pardon, Richard?
You just used L rods to find those?
Yes. Yeah, just walk around the field and yeah, just amble around the field and we'll pick up anything.
So more
But a,
specifically,
but a
go
Berber
on.
rod is the answer because it's 6 foot in front of you. And it immediately picks up what's in front of you instead of you deciding to walk into it.
But that's much safer, isn't it? If you're looking at things like blowholes, or, you know, if you were in limestone country where you have sinkholes and on chalk, you know, it'd be much safer to have a long rod like that.
Well, I prefer to use a long Berber rod.
Mm.
It's much easier.
Mm.
Having seen these people use them, they're far simpler, far safer.
Mm. And what is the rod itself made of? What is the Berber rod made of?
It can be made of anything. The principle of a Berber rod really is an extension of your arm. Here in southern Spain, we live in what was the area owned by Larios, which was the state sugar company. And they grew sugarcane from Almeria through to Gibraltar and right up to Cordoba. Sugarcane you can't get rid of. It's a bit like Japanese knotweed. It's the same family. And you find sugarcane now growing up every arroyo, every barranca, you'll find sugarcane, and you'll find it 50 miles inland. It's got that far. It's an odd plant. It looks a bit like a bamboo. I usually get it after a couple of big storms we get here, and it all washes down the rivers and ends up on the beach in Great Mountains, which the council have to come along and collect. So I pick out what I need, and I can make walking sticks out of it because it's as hard as hell. And I like it about 7 or 8 foot long, and I split the end of it, and I'll put a lovely little stone off the beach, maybe one of the captive stones. We have our beach is all stony and is very much all ex-volcanic. So all the stones you pick up have a life. And I find you split the end, you shove a stone up the end, and away you go, and you can find anything.
Well, thank you, Graham. I think I'll give it a go. I've got a friend in this village with a big stand of bamboo in his garden. I'll see what I can do with that.
Well, make sure you keep the bamboo in his garden, not in yours, because
Yes.
bamboo is a
I
nightmare.
don't want it in mine.
It's a bloody nightmare. It'll come up through your kitchen floor unless you're careful. Sugarcane is very difficult to deal with, and the councils here have taken all sorts of advice, and they still end up with sugarcane, which was growing where the beach line was 50 years ago, and now it's coming up again in great clumps everywhere.
In Australia, I lived in an area called Mackay where there's sugarcane growing all the time, and I'll try getting a stick of sugarcane and do what you're saying. But, I didn't realise it could be used for that. I thought it was just for eating.
It's only used for that because it's free. It's alongside where you're working. You cut a chunk down, you split the end of it, stick a stone in the end, and away you go. There's nothing professional about this. This is neither here nor there, but it's the most accurate way of finding fissures.
So why do you not simply ask your reaction from your L rod to be 6 foot away from the target?
What, for a fissure?
For anything, if you want to, if
For
you
a
want to
rock?
react,
I
if you want
get
to-
I get a reaction with L rods. For water, they cross from right to left.
yeah, but if you simply ask for your reaction to happen before you reach the target, rather than after you've fallen down the fissure, you should get however many feet away that you require.
Well, this is another reason why I use rather a long rod.
That's a good point, David. It's something we could try. You know, in our dowsing group, we're always looking for new things to try. Probably hide a crystal or something, you know, try and find it in the building. So it could be we try projecting that distance to see if that works for us.
I
So,
will
yes.
when I return back to the UK in November, I'll bring a bucket of stones so you can shove up the end of your bamboos and try it.
okay.
So it's all right. It's okay for you people. I've only just come in. I'm sitting here stark naked virtually, and it's about 30 degrees of heat. So I'm going for a shower. So carry on with your conversation, please. But believe you me, I will bring some stones back, and we can take it from there.
Okay, Graham, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Graham.
Thanks, Graham. Thank you.
See you in November.
Take care.
Okay, ta-ra.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think, as you suggest, Sue, I think I will contact Peter Taylor and ask him, has he got any idea about this, you know, this substance that Graham is looking for in the rocks that you might be able to find? Because I think most of you know he does dowsing by Google Earth. He's very adept at it. Yeah,
Gosh.
Yeah.
Everything has an energy, and if you kind of understand the slight variations, you can easily find them with map dowsing.
Yeah.
Not only can you kind of, if you have a cliff face and you take a photograph of it, you can map douse the photograph to find out which layer the minerals are in as well. So rather than just looking down on it, you kind of look into the rock face as well. It's yes.
I think that's what you were going to mention, was it, George, about the vibrations?
Yeah, well, it's when I look at everything through vibration, using the meter, which you have, and so I had immediately, everything has a vibration, and if we're looking for different rocks, etc., then they'll all have a different vibration. So if you can identify the vibration of something, and then so you could then potentially locate that same vibration within a within a group of rocks, you know. So that was my idea behind it, but I don't know how practical that would be in the situation that Graham has described. I can't get my head around exactly you know, the bigger picture, the overall thing that he's looking to do, really. I would need to maybe have a chat with him longer, but I don't see any reason why you couldn't why you couldn't locate things in that manner. I don't, but obviously if you're not used to using the biometer, then you have to develop your skill and understanding as to using that as a like anything that you're going to use in dowsing. It's all about practice. And so, if it's news to you, then you would need to obviously align yourself with practicing in that way. But I mean, it makes sense that, that different elements, different minerals will have different vibrations. So, yeah.
At the beginning of the question, Graham said he'd been looking for things in Huelva, which is, but basically, I think it's the southwest of Spain. Now, I was there for a day in January. We were staying in Portugal and we decided to have a day out. We went to Huelva and I could feel an awful lot of geopathic stress there. I didn't like it at all. The energies just felt all wrong. I didn't actually do any dowsing because I didn't want to tune into it. But the fact that he's talking about a lot of mining there could actually explain the way the energies felt a bit off.
Yeah, absolutely. Whereabouts did you feel that, Maeve? Whereabouts in your body were you picking that up?
All over, I think. I just sort of get the sense that the energies are wrong, and I think I felt out of kilter.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, so I mean that's I suppose that's we all speak. We speak about body dowsing and how we can intuit a feeling and relate a feeling to something not being right, and that would certainly walking across fissures and things like that would or could absolutely affect the body, and to people who are sensitive to these things, there'll be a response in the body. For a lot of people, not just, it's a common thing, but it's unless we're aware that these things go on, then sometimes they're hidden by the noise in our minds often, but yeah, very, very much so. As I would think you would certainly feel some discord in the ground underneath you. Absolutely.
Yeah, I dowsed devicelessly most of the time, to be honest, because when I first tried to use dowsing tools, they wouldn't work for me. And so I thought, well, I want to learn to dowse. So I just decided to sensitize my body to it. So yeah, that's the sort of feeling. And so normally if my body says the energies are out of kilter, I won't bother actually trying to tune in and do some specific dowsing because I know it'll just upset me.
Right.
Graham mentioned once that there is quite a bit of seismic activity in that area. Because I think when he was building the dams, he used to get reports every day because they were monitoring the seismic activity with these meters, and they used to send him the reports. I don't know what he did with them, how bad it was, but I remember him saying that. So maybe that's part to do with it. Maybe.
Yeah, there's another region in Mercia where we actually looked at some abandoned mines and things like that. And I think there are minerals in the ground, and that it almost felt godforsaken. Yeah, there were hardly energies there. And even my partner, who's not sensitive, actually said, "Oh, I don't like this area at all." So I think it is to do with the minerals and that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I also found some places as well where they had built dams, and I understand why they have to build them. But then there would be a dry riverbed going all the way to the coast. And again, that felt a little bit off because I think probably the underground water, which would have been underground, the river is still flowing, but the water underground isn't. And again, it felt a bit out of kilter.
That's interesting.
Was it out of kilter because it was different from what you're used to? I mean, I live on the Chalk Downs, so there's a particular type of energy released from the chalk. If I go the other side of the downs, I go on to sand, and that has a very different feel. And then go a bit further, it's kind of different again. So whatever bedrock you're on releases a slightly different frequency. Um,
Yeah,
you've got-
I know what you mean, David, because I live on magnesium limestone, and in the field behind me is where it changes to sandstone, and I can feel the
Yeah.
difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, it did feel like kilter, but we do often go to Spain for the winter, so I'm sort of used to that because we'll spend a couple of months there.
Yeah,
But I did find the. Sorry, David.
I spent 9 months in Barbate di Franco, which is just outside of the Med, working on a square rig ship. I felt a bit out of kilter quite often, but that was usually due to the alcohol.
Yeah, when I moved down to Cumbria a couple of years ago, where I'm staying in Cumbria, it's mainly limestone, and it took me a while to acclimatise to that. I felt out of sync for some time before adjusting to it. So these are very real feelings, and not nice when you don't know what they are, but yeah, very interesting how we respond to these changes.
I think Graham did use the word toxic,
He did.
or whatever words he used that was written up and was used on the screen share. I think lithium's renowned for being nasty to extract, showing all the electric cars need it for batteries.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So, Suman, did you hear all that? What was going on before? Because I saw you were trying to connect.
Well, I just got back and I gobbled down my tea. So no, not while it was. When you couldn't see me, I couldn't hear.
All right.
But
Okay.
I was just wondering how many lithium mines there are, because I know there's one in Chasewater in Cornwall.
Well, it's not a mine.
Well,
it's just
they're testing for it at the moment. Yeah. Does anyone know how many lithium mines there are in different places?
No idea. Sue.
Google it. But Graham was saying that the Berber rods are used by using sugarcane rods with the stone on the end. Supine said she knows somebody with bamboo, and you can use bamboo.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of bamboo, haven't you?
You can also use 4 long rods together. You know, it's open. You use what you've got. You try it. You get I don't know about 4 pieces of bamboo. I haven't tried that one. But if you try 4 long rods, I mean meter long rods together, just hold them. They act the same way.
I'm thinking about that set of drain rods I've got in my shed.
Yeah, try it.
Screw a couple of drain rods together and see how I get.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, they're quite thick, aren't they? They're not like bamboo.
They've also got metal intermittently, which might be a problem. But it's got to go, isn't it? Because they are quite flexible, obviously. They have to be.
Oh yeah, well the rods I'm talking about, they're I would say they're 3 mil, so only thin. 4 lengths of this. I tried it with the other day. That worked. So.
Do you do housework? Do you not remotely?
Who? Me?
Yes.
Oh, I have done. Yeah, I did it with an apartment in Munich recently. It's difficult. Oh, she's gone on safari, so I can't fully weigh up for the period of time because she couldn't sleep, you see. But some things have improved already, but then she went away, so it's a bit.
But what I'm getting at, you can douse someone's house from remotely.
Yeah.
So why are people kind of hung up on the idea that you need a long rod?
Well, I'm a beginner, really.
Why do you not simply ask for your reaction before you get to the target, rather than waiting
No,
for
it's
the reaction
it's
to happen on the target.
I don't
Because-
use.
Because you can do it from a house hundreds or thousands of miles away.
Yeah.
Yeah, so can
You know,
I.
I have got some
So can any of us.
good.
If we believe that we
Everyone
can.
can. Yeah. I've had some good hits. Very good
Yeah.
hits.
So if you're working locally and you don't want to be falling down the holes, just ask for a reaction 10 feet before it.
Well, you know what? I wasn't thinking of it in context of house healing. I was just thinking of it in I would think probably water and immediate readings, but obviously on a map, you can use a pendulum. But
Yeah.
if you're asking why go on a map first before you visit the site, personally, it helps. I just feel prepared.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not 100% accurate, but it gives you the area and you can sort of rule out some, some aspects. It's more efficient. But
what David suggested while you weren't there, Sue, was using ordinary rods, asking the question and projecting the rods about 6 feet in front of you, so that they they get the reaction 6 feet in front.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that.
It works.
Yeah. No, the thing is with that sort of that way of working, it only takes to test it. You know, I've thought of similar things. And it's always interesting, the results, you know.
You can program yourself to get a reaction when the rod hits the energy line. Or you can program yourself to get the reaction when your foot crosses into the energy line. Yeah. So you can just as easily ask for the reaction 10 feet, 20 feet before it. Because to some dowsing, you're actually getting a physical reaction from an energy. But kind of the more, once you get into it, it's not really the physical thing. It's actually just remote camera kind of soul, especially when you're working underground. You're not gone underground to get the reaction. This aspect of you that
no, it's an element.
It communicates the reaction to you, so you get the automatic reflex response sent back from your, like a remote camera sensing orb of energy that everybody has and can go into the ground or out to space or wherever you want it to go.
Yeah, well, I've been up and down actually, because I visited my antipode, and also I've been out of my body. I've been in space, so I've actually visited both. But I will do experiments with that in mind. I will test it. I quite like it. And it's the prescient part of you, if you like. It's the part of you that is perceiving at that time. So no body needed.
Absolutely. Yes.
And like, have you put your arm through objects that are normally not available for putting your arm through?
I tried that with the martial arts, hurt the knuckles.
No, out of your body? Have you tried that?
Out of, yeah, I do quite a lot of out of body stuff. I mean, the energy viewing, you are looking, well, mostly I use it for investigating people's illnesses.
Oh.
Yeah. And so you can actually look inside of a person's body to see the energy disturbances. Yeah, and it's proven hundreds and hundreds of times beyond any reasonable doubt. It's but then I did a Mind Body Spirit fair a while ago, and I'd met a dowser who brought his daughter along to one of them about 2 years ago, and she really kind of got energy viewing. And she came along to this one, and so this one was 2 months ago. She was my apprentice for the day, and she was doing the viewing. So she was just looking inside of the customer, and she was telling me what she could see, and I was telling the customer what they had wrong with them, and they were going. So it's anybody can do it. It's kind of.
So when you view inside a customer, are you aware that you're passing through different substances in any way? Because when I put my arm through the wall, I can feel the molecules separate to allow my arm thought, if you like, to go through. Like when I went through the ceiling, I felt the molecules separate.
No, I did have the unfortunate experience of seeing muscle, tissue, bone, one. And funnily enough, I was at the BSD a few years ago doing a workshop, and the lady president at the time, what was her name?
Isabel.
Isabel. Yeah, she was in the workshop, and she really wanted to see energy, but she got that. She could see the veins and arteries, and and it's kind of horrible because there's not much you can do with that unless you're a surgeon. So normally it's just kind of in there, not worry about what you're passing through. You just arrive. You can do the same with trees or animals, or you just.
I know, it's such an amazing toolbox.
But it's all empty space anyway. According to quantum physics, we are 1% particles and 99% empty space. So passing through it isn't really an issue.
Yeah, so you've answered my question, really. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
I
don't know if you can see me. Can you see me?
No.
No. It's a new tablet. I need to try and get my head around it. Well, I'm a complete newbie at this. I mean, I really am. I only started doing dowsing the last year. I had a dowsing group douse my flat, which was very interesting. Would I be correct in saying that if they did that in 6 months' time, the results would be different, or would they be the same?
What was the question again, Dorothy?
I had a dowsing group do my flat just to see what they could pick up. It's part of the group that I've joined in Scotland. And they picked up various things, which was interesting. I'm not going to let it affect me. But if they douse the same flat in 6 months' time, would they get the same readings on the same results?
Was the purpose to clear? So did they find negative energy, presumably?
Well, they found lines going through.
But did they perform an action to clear it?
No, this was just an exercise to learn. I was doing it as well. And they put various crystals and things.
What were the lines, Dorothy, that they found? What were they?
That's a good question. The guy who runs the group, who's teaching me, just said there's a line running through the park, right through the top of my kitchen. I don't know what kind of line it is. I can only assume it's a negative thing. Yeah.
Well, I'm coming at this from a slightly different angle. So please, anybody that's got any aspect that to add to it, then happy. Obviously, when I'm working with people, to generate their healing response, one of the things you've got to look at is the environment that that person's living in. And that's really important to understand the environment. Now, negative energy and positive energy, it means different things to different people. And so what to bring everything, my take on it, and it's only my take on it, is bring everything back to what is the vibration of the line.
Right.
Rather than giving it a name, rather than sort of becoming attached to this idea that something's negative, find the vibration of the line.
Right.
And it's through the vibration of the line that we start to understand how it can affect us in a not so good way, or how it can be to our benefit.
Right. Okay.
So I would go back to that aspect, because it is only somebody's interpretation of either negative or positive. So rather energy has to flow, and it flows at a certain frequency. So when we strip everything away, rather than giving it a negative or positive context, find the vibration of it and work from the level of the vibration of the line. And from that, you can start to understand certain aspects. And as regards to your question about the lines changing, one of the very first person I started to work with in this way, looking at their environment, was a lady. It was a flat in Dundee. And very interestingly, I was asked to work with this particular lady. So I visited her flat, and I drew a plan of the flat, went home, and I started to dowse on the plan of the flat. Now, I produced a plan with energy lines drawn on the plan. Unbeknown to me, but on my return to the lady's house, she had dug out, she had her house doused remotely by, there's a gentleman who works in, I forget his name, but his gentleman works out of East Dulwich in London, who looks at sleeping position and sleeping position only. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he's produced some good pamphlets and good leaflets about sleeping positions. And she had contacted this gentleman 3 or 4 years before I had visited the site. But interestingly enough, that the plan that I had drawn out was almost identical to the original plan made 3 years prior to that.
Wow. That's great.
Well, for me, that was the first time I had ever done that. And it was almost like, for me, it was confirmation back to me.
Yeah.
So it had quite an impact on me that this whole thing was still, that I could do it almost, that it was possible to do this.
Yes.
And so, in answer to your original question, then the potential is that the lines stay the same, but they can change as well, because we don't know what the lines are. If the lines of water, underground water, the frequency could change due to flooding in the area. There's all sorts of things that can impact on these lines. So, I would encourage you to go, use the meter if you can do, and use the meter and find the frequency and work from the frequency aspect of the lines.
Great. That's a great reply. Thank you, George.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Just as a comment, I've done a lot of dowsing of houses, and particularly looking at friends and relatives who have had mainly cancer. And I've found that the intersection of those lines, if they've gone through a bed, that there's been a connection, like it's not provable, but there's a connection between the person where they had the cancer and where the lines intersected. And one particular instance, my friend's sister's a school teacher, and 10 years ago she had colon cancer. I was doing some work at the back of her property, and I went. She gave me permission to go and douse her bedroom, and the two lines, there was a north-south and not quite exactly north-south, but pretty close, and east-west. I think they call the Curry line, and the other one was another doctor in Germany. There's different lines named after different people.
Yep.
They intersected on her, where her colon would be in the bed. And the other thing, that her cat was actually sleeping on that exact spot. And according to what I've read, that cats love the energies, the negative energies. And I actually rate the energies I get. And where they intersect, they you add the two negative energies together, and then you get a very intense spot. Another friend I know of, he had three different cancers, and I doused his house, and in each case I could track it back to where these ley lines. Now I used to block them with copper. Now I use a product called shungite, the black. It's out of Russia, and I put that in copper pipe and put that a lot across the line. It just seems to absorb the energy. I didn't, the copper itself, if you just use copper rod, it seems to back it up, and then you get a really intense, a damming effect, and I don't think that's good. But I use the shungite, and it seems to absorb the energy.
And I think also talk to your client, because also after I doused the apartment in Munich, I've now doused a house a few miles away where people also had difficulty sleeping. Seems to be someone's trying to tell me something, but I've recently, well, this year anyway, a few months ago, I attended a course with Peter Stott on energy clearing, and I did, by my findings, and I have recently distance doused to check that this remains the same. I have cleared the, we'll call it negative energy. However, there are other issues that are influencing the situation, and you have to, there's so much to unpick. You never know what you're going to have to unpick until you get, it's like everybody is an individual, each situation is unique. So he also laid a test for me. So after I cleared the negative energy, he then said, oh, you haven't found the uranium. So, oh, uranium, right. And then he said, where's the other radioactive material? So my rods went, wee, and took me to his shed, where there was a 1970s clock with luminous yellow paint on it. But I am fully aware that in my book from Peter Stott, I have a page of directions to go in, not just, tick off, do that, but directions to spider, what's the spider diagram? Yeah, to spider off in. And again, I'm waiting for comeback, but I am already aware of certain, how can I say, unusually negative influences emotionally. So it's complex.
If I may just butt in there, this is a classic book. If I hold it up there, I hope people can see it. Yeah, that one's worth getting. I'll just thumb through so you can see the sort of things that are in there. There's all sorts of diagrams about sleeping positions. I expect you've got this one, Barry, already.
I have, yeah.
I mean, it's a fantastic book. If you haven't got that one, folks, I recommend that one. I think that one's is quite old now, but it was groundbreaking when it came out. Still a very important book, that one.
What's the surname? Can't see the surname.
It's
Basha.
Kether Bachler, Bachler, Earth Radiation.
Okay, thank you.
she was a school teacher, and she found children, the kids she was teaching were having problems at school, or they were playing up, and she dowsed their beds, and when she shifted their bed position, or sleeping position, they all came good. And then she started dowsing houses and looking at cancer and all the other diseases, mainly from the intersection of the geopathic stress lines or watercourses. So, but I've also got a book from Professor Scott Mumby, who called Medicine Beyond, and in that he's got a chapter in the book devoted to, and that's where I got onto that book of Kathy Bosch's, that he had been in Germany, and many doctors in Germany actually use that they douse people if they can't work out what's caused the problem. The doctors actually douse their property to find the energy lines, and then they shift the bed, mainly sleeping locations or working locations. So.
Can I chime in for a second? Being part of the Earth Energies group, we're kind of following it, exploring it. But there seems to be magnetic lines. Then there's light lines, which are apparently plasma tubes within tubes with different frequencies of energy flowing within the same line. Then you've got underground water, which tends to be sound, infrasound, which is one of these things that really is, you don't want that under your bed. But then I've just kind of realised that there's another one, and I don't know whether it's the Curry and Hartman grid, the one that they talk about. But if you go into cymatics and have a look at the study of sound, it's quite definite that sound has a structure. Yeah, and because the Earth, being in vibration, it has a sound all of its own, and I think they say it's about 7 hertz, 7.5 hertz. Not sure which color that is, but I'm assuming it's 7.5 at the dark blue. But there are structure lines to that sound. So whether they are the Curry and Hartman grid that the Germans talk about, or whether it's yet another set of lines, I don't know. But interestingly, interesting that the body has a sound, right? Yeah. So that has a structured sound grid around it, and I'm just kind of investigating that at the moment. But I kind of almost to the point to accepting that I might have to apologise to lots of people.
David, sorry, Barry.
The Sherman wave is 7.83 hertz, I think it is, and apparently, from what I read, when they put NASA put the spaceship people up in spaceships, they put a device in the spaceship to replicate the Sherman wave.
Yes,
and also the high-rise buildings. They say that depression and then suicide is connected to because of the bricks and mortar and all the rest of it, and high-rise. That reduction in that Sherman frequency is the reason people start having problems.
But sorry to interrupt you there, David, or Barry. That there is another line. Barry mentioned David, the Hartman and the Curry grid. Was it the Hartman and the Curry grid you mentioned?
Yeah, yes. That's right.
Yeah, and then there's another one on top of that as well. There's a larger one that's a larger grid network across the Earth as well.
Banker lines.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what is the dragon line that Rory Duff mentioned in one of his reports about the dragon line? Is that the pyramids are on, like an energy line? It's apparently 60 meters, about 60 meters wide. I was reading somewhere that.
You want to jump in, Chris? No. Okay.
Sorry, Richard, I never heard you there.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know if Chris Tung wanted to come in.
Oh, Chris, I could.
Yeah, there are people within the UK who've doused Rory Duff's lines. I know Maeve has done that in Spain, and confirmed that they are extremely wide. They're also very mobile. Perhaps Maeve would comment on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're not a grid as such. They're just these sort of weaving lines, a bit like the Mary and Michael lines, but a lot wider. I mean, when I first doused them in Spain, they were something like 100 paces wide. But when I went back a couple of years later, one was something like 400 meters wide. Yeah, they are very wide lines. These, I think he calls them emperor dragons. And they also differ from things like the Mary and Michael, because the Mary and Michael cross or node quite often, whereas these emperors very rarely cross or node, even though they do come in pairs. But they're not sort of a grid like the Benker or the Korean Hartman ones.
We found in this area that we've done a lot of dowsing on Mary and Michael, and we found that if there's an earthquake anywhere in the world at all, Mary and Michael expand tremendously. It's while the system as a whole is trying to balance itself to move energy about the globe to take account of the earthquake. But you know, if you do sort of come across a line that is unusually wide, a line that you know, it's worth having a look and seeing if there's been an earthquake anywhere, because that will do it. And then if you go back the next day, you'll find the line has gone back to the width that you're used to. I mean, as Maeve said, there is a bit of a shift, and certainly, aside from the points where those lines are actually pinned into the ground by something like Beccles Church Tower, which is a giant pin stuck in the Michael line. Aside from that, there is a slight shift on them, a slight seasonal shift on Michael and Mary as well.
Yeah, that's interesting about the seismic activity. I mean, the one that I was measuring in Spain actually rolled across the campsite that we were staying in. We stayed on that. I think we were on it for about 6 weeks. And but this emperor dragon, it has Rory Duff mentioned something called a lateral roll, where it like rolls from side to side, and this had a huge lateral roll. It would roll across the campsite in the morning and disappear, and then it'd be back in the evening. And the width was pretty wide most of the time we were there. But yeah, it's very interesting what you say about them responding to the earthquakes. Yeah, I'll look into that a bit further.
Well,
Can I just say, sorry, I was going to say that would be quite good to do, but it's all good stuff. But when you're looking at earthquakes and that sort of thing, there's hundreds of earthquakes every day all over the globe. So what you could do is you could douse the if you go onto Google, there's a website, USGS it's called, and on there, USGS, on there you get a live map of the Earth and the fault lines of the Earth, and they depict anything over a certain seismic quality of the earthquakes when they happened for a 24-hour period. So you can look at the whole Earth You can see what earthquakes have happened, when they happened, and the quality of the earthquake. So the 4.5 on the Richter or whatever it is. And then what you could do, actually, it's just a thought, but what you could do is you could maybe ask the question about the Mary and the Michael line. Which fault line are they responding to, or is there a particular fault line they're responding to? And if so, which one is it? And you could dowse the map of the Earth to find out if there's a connection to a particular fault line.
That's a good suggestion. Thank you, George.
And it's quite interesting when you look at when you look at that website. If you are to look at their website, USGS, it's very interesting to look at the activity, the seismic activity that's ongoing on a daily basis. Now, here's a little story for you regarding, if I may do, Richard, if I could share a little story about seismic activity and healing. I had occasion to work with a Canadian girl about 3 years ago, and when we were sort of unfolding her story and looking at the vibrational aspects, and part of the report that I did for this particular lady involved sensitivities that she carried. And so most people, or not most people, but some people have sensitivities to food, etc., or maybe electrical output or something like that. This particular lady had a sensitivity to seismic activity, but the seismic activity actually lay on one particular line, which ran through Malaysia. Now, this lady that I was working with was from the western coast of Vancouver, of Canada, in Vancouver. Now, when I came across this, I thought to myself on a Zoom call that I had with the lady, do I actually mention this to her, or is it so out there that actually, how can this actually be? So in my enthusiasm, I suggested to her that actually, and I told her the story of what I had found. And interestingly enough, what came back to me from her was that she was actually conceived in Malaysia, but born and brought up in Canada. But she was conceived with her parents in Malaysia. But the dows had shown she was responsive, and she held a particular sensitivity to seismic activity in Malaysia.
Was it at this meeting last month, George, where was with us from I think she lives in Newcastle, but she wrote an article for the Dowsing Café magazine where she's sensitive to earthquakes in northern India, I believe, and she called it the yellow or something like that. Can't remember the term, but again, yes, she's sensitive, and she did actually mention that although it went into the magazine, nobody had actually come back to her because they hadn't experienced anything like it. But you just mentioned there's somebody else has, so that's quite interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting.
Was that Avril Weeks?
Yes, yeah.
Thought so. Yeah.
Do you know her?
She's appeared on Earth Energy Zoom.
Okay.
Joined us once. Yeah, very interesting lady.
Yes, yes.
I found a picture of the earthquakes, but I can't share it. Been trying to share it. So like George was saying, it's that I don't know where to put it. But it is there.
It's a good tool. It's a good tool to use, certainly, if you've got an interest in that sort of thing.
Just say hello to Martin, who's just joined us.
Hi everyone.
Martin joined us on the international call a couple of months ago, I think it was.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, nice to see you again.
Thank you. I'm just being nosy to hear what you're all talking about.
Okay. Well, we've been on what time is it now? About an hour and a quarter. But this is recorded if you want to have a look. It'll be on the YouTube channel in the near future.
Yeah. Okay.
Catch up. Yeah.
Hmm. Everybody's clammed up now, Martin. We're all gone shy because you've joined us.
Oh, Martin, I can see you now.
Just on the last sort of topic, if you like, if it's okay, we spoke at length the last month about the colours on the biometer. I think, David, you might have brought that up at some stage, the colours, or we spoke for a while about the colours. Does anybody recall that?
I did.
Yes.
Yeah. But it just so happened the next day I came across something, the very next day from that I came across something which may relate to it, and it was to do with acidity and alkalinity of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And the color code seemed to fit with something that I came across depicting the acid alkaline quantities within the body.
Interesting.
I'm working on a color chart to suit energy viewing. I might be able to get it to come up behind me if we're lucky. Hang on a second. There.
Oh, wow.
You see that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So down the bottom, I don't see me come up as speaker on the screen, but down the bottom, you've got the electromagnetic spectrum. Which way around is it? Hang on, I'll put it round the other way. Makes it easier. Oh yeah, right. So that side is the fastest side. You've got gamma waves and ionizing radiation. So if you're kind of vibrating up round there, then everything's going to be blown apart because that radiation has the tendency to knock the electrons off the atom and destabilize you. So you kind of the molecular adhesion diminishes, so you'd actually fall apart. Down the other end, the bottom end, you've got radio waves, which are really huge, big waves and really slow. Equally, you don't want to be that end, but for purpose of energy viewing, you want to be about there.
Yeah.
And I've put numbers in, but I'm kind of thinking of redoing those because they don't really relate to anything. But so just off the top of visible light, where's my finger gone? Kind of, yeah. So you're coming just out of visible light into ultraviolet, and so that's the sort of color that I see inside of someone if there's nothing wrong with them at all. But if there's anything wrong, they'll go into any of these other colors. And if you start seeing brown inside of people, basically they've gone rotten, and kicking off radio waves. And then you got bruising and heat and anger, but it also does the emotions. So you've got orange is pain physically. Then out in the aura, that'll be relationship issues. And you've got the greens, and you kind of go into trees and see that kind of color. And then that nasty kind of flat gray green is more like the bark. But if you start seeing that, can't get my hands to work. If you start seeing that color inside of people or outside, it's normally kind of skin cancer. But then anywhere up in the kind of blue range is, yeah. But then if you come outside of the blue range and go up to this one or this one, the energy inside the body is 1.5, or it has achieved 1.5 times its normal electrical charge, and it's healing, so it goes electrical blue. So I'm still working on this because it also has a musical note, because each musical note has a color associated with it. If you start looking up sound, music, piano notes, color associated with it, you'll find heaps of it on the internet. Yeah, so that's the chart I'm working on.
Very
Does that
good.
help you any, George?
I can see where you're sort of coming from it, but from your point of view, I suspect that'll be really significant for you, David, because you've got the ability to see the energies. So, you know, are you seeing them and making sense of them in some way, in a slightly different way, could be really beneficial to you and how you're perceiving things, I would imagine. I don't have the ability to see the colors as such, so I'm not sure.
George, can I just ask you, when you meditate,
yeah,
and you've got your eyes shut and you go into that space, do you get funny grainy colors floating across your mind's eye?
Generally, it's a very bright purple, I see.
Okay, so that's part of it.
Yeah,
you're doing it. That's one of the colors.
Yeah.
So the bright purple is quite a high frequency.
Yeah. So it's not something that's while I'm I'm very open to learning, obviously, but it's not something that has come automatically, if you like, in the process. But maybe it's something I could consider developing, David, for sure.
But it does work the same for everybody. I have made that chart because if I teach anybody how to view these energies, those colors will give you exactly the same information.
Yeah.
And that's repeated itself 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So it's not an individual kind of chart. That applies for everybody.
Yeah.
As much as I know, with the 1,000 people that I have shown how to do it, that's kind of there's bound to be one that doesn't. But
David, we've got a healing circle down the road, which was designed by I've forgotten his name. What's his name?
Jack Temple.
That's it, Jack Temple. And I've in the quadrants I found my own divisions of color. But he put 17 stones facing the west, and there's also entrance stones. I'm not quite sure what their role. One is a sunstone, one is a moonstone. I can't remember their function.
It's just north of Stenning.
No, it's on the Gower.
Oh, it's another one. Okay.
It's not the one in near Woking but West Fife is the Heritage Centre. So and it's actually not in the ideal position because I dowsed that as well. But I've dowsed 4 colours that identify each section. Now, that's I've painted them on paper. So can I use that? And does that, like you're saying, you're talking about impressions, but if I have them on paper, can I use them, like you say, it's a general key for everybody, or is it my resonation, how I resonate with the energy in each section? To start me off anyway.
Without seeing the colours and knowing what you would want to use them for, I can't really comment. But if it works for you, then work with it. But I'm my line is very specific because I can see the colours inside a person or
Yeah.
out around them.
Mhm.
I have to know that it's what I'm changing it to is absolutely right. Otherwise, I could do more harm than good.
Mhm.
It's
I have impressions of colour, but I'm more about having a tool set that I can take with me, I think. But I'm going to test it. I'm in the process of testing it on victims.
yeah. So if you kind of ask if someone's got a headache, so ask what colour frequency that energy is resonating at.
Oh, I might have a picture.
And you should get an orange, or
Okay.
if it's more what's the one on from headaches? Migraine.
Migraine.
Is going to be more of a magenta colour. But headaches generally tend to be related to people's own stress, whereas migraines they can be stress, but they're quite often related to too much cheese, coffee, red wine, and that sort of thing. So it's a bit of a chemical imbalance causing it rather than their own emotions.
Here they are. Ah, can you? There's a flash and then it's gone.
It comes and goes. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so if you're getting orange for a headache and yellow for broken bones, or power personal power issues is a kind of a yellowy colour.
Okay.
Arthritis is a dull sticky red. So as I say, browns, they're basically gone rotten, and golden brown is irritable bowel, sinus issues are lighter golden brown. I've detailed it. It's I don't even know whether my website is still running at the moment. I've decided to put it in a book rather than on the website, so that's where I'm heading now.
Okay.
But yeah, I could email it to you. I could email you the details. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I'm sure I've got your email somewhere along the line, haven't I?
I can give it to you now.
Yeah, go on.
Shall I do it in the chat or what?
Oh yeah, put it in the chat, then I can
Yeah.
read it, and then
Okey-doke.
no excuse for spelling it wrongly, which I am particularly good at.
Oh.
The stone circle that Sue mentioned was built by Jack Temple. He was helping his friend who built up the Gary Heritage Centre. He was called Ken Church. So you have Church and Temple building this.
Very good. Very droll. Very droll.
Can I ask a question of David? If you see, for example, red in someone that they've got arthritis, for example, David, what do you do then? Do you envisage the indigo blue towards that part where the arthritis is? How do you get rid of the red?
Well, healing is a complicated issue. They're more likely got arthritis because they're poisoning themselves with a certain type of food. So in the short time, it's really easy to change the energy of somebody, frighteningly easy. But then because it's so easy to change, it's frighteningly easy for them to change it back again. So if they carry on eating the food that is giving them arthritis, it'll be back within a few days or a month. Or yeah, it's a big subject, Linda. But it's all about getting them back to the right frequency, whether it's through stopping them do repetitive strains or sitting in the energy lines or hotspots which are destabilizing them, or getting them to eat the right food, or stopping them getting on that merry-go-round in their mind, repeating the same or revisiting that the same thing that has been upsetting them since childhood, and the brain can generate energies which they can store anywhere around the body and cause problems. So yeah, that's a massive subject.
So David, I actually have just realized I get impressions of color that just land from my aura, really. But I want to know, did you first start having random impressions and then you sort of thought, right, where's this coming from? You developed from there, or did you seek out to explore the colors first and you found you could do it?
It was like being smacked in the face with a wet fish for me, basically. I was doing martial arts and had my hand back to back with an opponent doing a set piece, and I was supposed to anticipate how he was going to hit me. Didn't need to see him because I had contact, shut my eyes and got a perfect picture of his heart in my mind's eye.
Oh yeah.
Even though I didn't know anything about anything, I knew it was the wrong color and I knew he had a problem. Then, because it was so powerful, it was so definite, and it lingered for quite a while until I kind of worked out how to sort it out. Then it disappeared. But then it's been research, experimentation. My son, I found that he could do the same thing, putting it together, finding I could teach other people, finding that they would see exactly the same stuff over the last 23 years. So it's kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Which is why I am so certain about it all. I apologize for my kind of, well, this is approach, but that it is.
No, because it's just interesting because sometimes I get flashes and it's very intense and it's definitely something that wasn't there the moment before. But then I think I don't know what to do with it. But
well, no, it was such a powerful image, the first one, that I had to explore where it had come from, what was going on. That's why I joined the Sussex Dowsing Society, to help me understand what I could do, what I was seeing. And then, yes.
Do you ever get impressions that are a color but verbally? Because I'm also told colors sometimes.
I don't listen to me guides. That's something I'm guilty of. I really work with the visual. I do get kind of the quiet, silent voice sometimes, but I tend not to work with that aspect.
Okay.
Because the visual I have practiced and trained and explored and experimented, and I know that I can rely on it, absolutely.
Do you paint?
No.
Because I'm attempting to paint the energy at a certain point beneath my feet at the moment. So, so for example, I'm training my focusing at different depths, you see.
Yes.
So where have you gone? Oh, you've gone over there.
Your aura drops down into the ground.
Yeah.
So you have layers of it, and you've got the energy line that comes down through the crown.
I'm sending my focus though, as if I was, you know, with water divining, for example, or whatever.
Yes.
Or when I visited my antipode, I'm just like we were talking before, I'm sending a perception, a perspective, if you like. But I'm just focusing on one depth, you see, and I'm painting. But when I've got more, I'll show you.
Okay, so are you sensing a small ball of energy, or just the?
Oh, I'm dowsing how to portray it. I've got my palette made up. I'm dowsing how to portray it. in paint.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to see that when you've done it. That would be very interesting.
Okay.
Yes. What I use, I mean, I say I don't paint, but when I'm trying to, if I'm not using, I've got quite a decent art package that I use. I mean, I used it for this. So I do a lot of my work with colours and kind of artwork on the laptop. But if I'm not, I have chalk pastels. I use chalk pastels and a dark blue kind of coarse paper, which gives you that the background energy, which should be kind of indigo. That's the one, the energy in the background that has not got disturbances on it, or any kind of disturbances. So the 0 point field, the kind of the on, the god, double, whatever you want to call it. And the chalk pastels, when you use those, you get a kind of grainy effect, which is the way that everybody seems to see these energies as well. So it's a really good.
Well, that's an interesting approach, yeah. And I tried doing it the other day from under a tree because of certain climatic conditions that we experience here in the UK. I didn't want to get wet, so focusing on the point. But my dowsing was telling me, no, you have to stand on the point on the earth, you know, above the center of the earth, below which you want to focus. So I need to go back. Now, for me, that's what I was.
Entirely true, but it may be for you at this moment of time.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's just the same as when you're doing house dowsing. You don't have to be in the house.
Oh, no, I can see that.
If you can visual, kind of mentally connect to the roots of that tree, then you'll see the energy around the roots under the tree.
Yeah, I have
David,
extended.
David, could I just ask a question, David?
Yeah.
Oh, David, you spoke about the energy line coming down into the crown of the person.
Yes.
How far up do you see that being extended?
Oh, well, there's a good question, George. I'm glad you asked me that one because I have no idea. I have tracked it for about 12 feet past my head and other people's, and I've had people lying on the couch and other people dowsing, and they all about the same. So what happens after that? Not only away from the head, under the feet as well. So we've gone both ways. And I was on a Zoom call yesterday. No, sorry, it wasn't a Zoom call. It was a Facebook page and page called Raising Your Energy, and people were talking about they're calling it nature energy. And I was saying, well, which aspect of nature energy? Because you got all this lot. Which bit do you want? You know, and so I put in, well, some of it is sound, and you get a structure from the sound, which is around the body as well. So could some of these energies out in nature be the sound of the earth? And then someone put some, then they all started chatting, you know, being more open about it. This lady had been, I think she was in South Africa and living out there in one of the towns. And she'd had this experience where she had seen the grid. If you know what I mean, it's not something that I really I've only had glimpses of it, so I'm not certain about it. But she described the grids and all the people within it, the energy line coming from their head and plugging into the grid. Now, I've only heard that once from one person. Has anybody else heard about that one? So next time I'm doing a practical dowsing session at the Sussex Dowsers, I will put people on the couch and try and see where it goes, see whether it actually does plug into a grid or whether it just goes off out to infinity. But she was saying that it wasn't that far away from them. So if you've got a grid, you're always in one square of it, or you know, and as you pass into the next one, so that the connection would. But that's I've just not really explored, but it's a possibility.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks.
And that puts us in the holographic universe.
Yeah.
The holographic projection, and kind of that's the feed for it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Thank you.
Yes.
Richard, are you there?
I'm here.
I think we've overrun.
I think we have. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Could I just ask Dorothy?
Yeah.
Could you try, because I've got an indication that your video has just been turned off. Could you try turning your video on?
Well.
On the bottom of your screen on the left-hand side, there should be like a microphone. It looks like an image of a microphone and a video camera. Can you see that? Right on the left-hand side, bottom left-hand corner.
Left-hand corner. No, this is totally brand new, and
Right.
What is it? Is it Samsung?
it's Amazon. I think it's an Amazon one.
Oh, I don't know that.
I know. I've lost everybody now. Not to worry, I will get the hang of it. I will get the hang of it.
It's just that your camera's turned up. It's just a matter of clicking it back on. That's all.
Yeah, I just don't see a camera sign at all.
Hey, we should have one on Halloween, and everybody is black.
Oh dear, never mind.
Yeah.
I will get the hang of it.
Could I ask Barry, what is that graphic above you? Is that the First Nation picture?
What first? Yeah, it's Aboriginal art.
All right.
And I got that from the it's done in the Northern Territory by an Aboriginal artist there, and it's about $500. I think I paid for it. Yeah, but there's quite a bit available, but unless it's appealing, I wouldn't buy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Eddie Burrup? Barry?
No, I haven't.
Oh.
No.
I think it was the early 80s. It was a female artist called Elizabeth Durack who did a fake Aboriginal show in the name of Eddie Burrup.
All right.
Have you heard of that now? Because it was worldwide in the art world.
Yeah. No, I hadn't.
The horror at this. Okay.
I'm sure there's a lot of fake work around the place.
It was special then.
There we are.
Oh,
in the room. Yeah.
Oh.
Just at the last minute as well.
I didn't realise that I clicked ask to start video, and I clicked it, and it started. So I'll remember that for the future.
Sure.
So, Richard.
Sorry?
Hey, Richard, it's Martin. Can I speak?
Yes, go ahead.
Well, you sound as though you're going to wind up in a minute anyway. I've been listening to the sort of thing you're talking about here, and I can't say I relate to much of it really. My dowsing and healing is on a completely different tack towards plasma, and it's too complicated to go into here. But while I was listening to people talking, it reminded me of an experience I had I'd like to relate to you all. It's about 20 years ago, I went to a sort of a spiritual meeting where I was invited to give a reading of some sort, and that had all passed, and we were having a chat afterwards. And I had a feeling in my head of a warm wave going right through my brain, as though I was having a brain hemorrhage. And yet I felt perfectly all right standing there. So I said, okay, who is this? And the man in my head told me his name. And I realized that he'd passed, and I said, well, just stay with me a minute and while I understand what's happening. So I said to the people in the room, does anybody know this name? And the lady chirped up. She said, yes, that's my boss. She said, he died of a hemorrhage yesterday. So I said, okay. So I went back to him and explained what had happened, that he'd died of a brain hemorrhage, which of course I had experienced the feeling of. And I showed him to the light and helped him to go home, as it were. But it's just, I've had a number of different experiences, and that's just one of them. But it's quite different when you're talking colours and different things, to actually have the experience of the man's feeling in his brain hemorrhage, feeling it in me. It was a completely different sort of sensation, if you like. It wasn't visual as such. It was a totally feeling thing, as if it was going on in my body. Very strange.
Yeah, and you can be taken over, for example, with a feeling of total heaviness, for example.
Yeah. So it's worth finding out if you are being affected by something, if that something needs your help. Don't just shun it away. Maybe it doesn't. It needs some help in some way, or even if the help is to help it understand what's going on. So you have to understand it on its behalf and then tell it. Yeah. Okay, that was just my bit I wanted to throw into the meeting.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
That was very interesting, Martin. The plasma aspect is very interesting that you mentioned. If you wanted to expand on that a little bit, I'd be real interested to hear that.
It's taken me 20, 30 years of research to get to where I am, so I couldn't explain it in 5 minutes. But at the lowest level that you would be interested in, we're talking of bioplasma. Yeah. The bioplasma being the plasmic model of your body that the flesh clings to. Yeah. Okay. So from my perspective, anything that is unwell about the body is firstly unwell about the bioplasmic body. The flesh simply follows that. Yeah. So if you want to get to the bottom of something, you need to understand why the bioplasmic body is unwell. And that's a very, very big subject. And it's nothing like anything you've been ever looked at before. So I'm thinking one day I'll write a book or two on it. But the problem is my research is taking me into so much new ground every day. And I'm trying to heal myself at the same time of the things that I come up against, that the time to get to write a book is not guaranteed to ever happen.
I started looking into plasma. I started looking into plasma about 9 months ago.
Yeah.
And incorporated the knowledge that I have of plasma within the sort of aspect that I do. We're all, as healers or people working within healing and that sort of thing, we all use different ideas and different, we all bring a uniqueness to that table.
Sure. Yeah.
But the idea of plasma was something that I came across about 9 months ago, and I've been using it in a sort of in an aspect of healing, because I recognized just what you're saying, that the connection between the physical body and the plasmic body, the relationship there is key to resolving or helping to resolve the issues that people are. So I'd be happy, or not happy, but I'd be delighted to explore that at some stage in the future with you, if you're coming on again. So you'd be most welcome to come on.
Yeah, thank you very much. The problem I have is I've got such a vocabulary of what I've researched. If I start talking about it, it'll be double Dutch to anybody else. So it would take a while to work out how to build steps between the way I see it and the way everybody else sees it. Because, as I say, the terms are all different, and what I mean by them will not be understood by people who haven't trained in it, if you like.
Martin?
Yes.
Can you direct it towards information on the internet?
No, because I haven't taken it from the internet. It's all come from dowsing in my head. I've studied from my question and answer and my pendulum for 20, 30 years. I got a completely different picture of reality. To not say too much, I've been reverse engineering creation. And I say that because when we talk about bioplasma, that is in the bottom few percent of the scope of what I'm looking at. It's not the be all and end, you know, of everything. So I'm looking at the universe, the planets, life as we don't know it. You name it. It's how everything works, not just how humans work, and the relationship between the mind and what we think of as matter, and what we think of as mind, and how mind controls plasma, for example. It's a very, very big and open and complex subject. And if I say any more now, people will go away with ideas that I didn't mean, because they'll speak with those words different things.
Okay.
There's a book there that I came across plasma in a book called The Tuning of the Human Biofield.
Yeah.
So I came across that book, and that was the first time I had come across the idea of plasma. And from that, there's another book which I have just, I'm expecting a delivery of in about the middle of October. It's called The Electric Universe. And it's written by an electrical engineer who has gone into certain aspects about the plasmic body. And he's I can't remember the name of the author, but he authored it and he published it himself. So because of that, being self-published, it's a very difficult book to get a hold of, and it's quite an expensive purchase. But I have one on the way, so I'm looking forward to reading about the plasmic aspects of the electric universe.
Now, I said I don't read and I don't look at the internet, but I did come across a book a few weeks ago, which I did buy because Dowsing said it would be good for me to read. I've read it and I thoroughly approve of everything he says in it, because it's the first bit of science that goes in the direction of my own research. Now, I don't know if you can see it. It's called The New Science of Heaven.
A New Science. Okay.
A New Science of Heaven by Professor Robert Temple.
I
don't suppose there's any relation to Jack, but...
Don't suppose.
No.
Roger Temple. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, this is a scientific book. It's all about science that's been discovered but not disclosed. And it's very much, it keys into my research, which is all done through my head. So this is the first bit of science that backs up my own work.
Is it very technical?
No, it's written for the lay reader. It's written for anybody to read.
Okay.
But I don't have all the same conclusions he does, because I've what I think is more knowledge than that. But he's working from the science looking up beyond the atomic world to see that there's something else. And science is starting to find this something else. And therefore they've got to start accepting it.
Is this a multi-dimensional universe?
I don't, that's not in my vocabulary.
Lots of dimensions. It's what I think about.
My universe goes to 6 dimensions and no more. No. And they're not alternative universes. There's not alternative realities. There's only the one we're in now, as far as I'm concerned. But we are made up of 6-dimensional stuff at different levels. That's part of my science. I can't prove it.
Well, when you say the new science of heaven, it resonates with what I go on about all the time. Talk about people from all over the world, from different countries and millennia, talking about heaven or nirvana or other words. And I think that when we pass on, we go to the next dimension, and whatever number you want to call it, 5, 6, whatever. And that makes sense to me. It fits in with what people have talked about and experienced over the millennia.
Yes. The book, although it says heaven in the title, it's only for anyone who doesn't understand that it's the thought of the life where we go, where we belong when we're not in the flesh. It isn't a religious heaven. Yes. It's where spirit lives, if you want to put it in that terminology.
Lovely.
Yeah. But those things aren't dimensional. Spirit isn't in a different dimension to what we are. It's on another order of plasma and a chain of plasma coming down from a source of all that is. But that's a deep story.
My understanding of plasma is that it is supercharged.
Sorry, say again.
Particles that have lost their plasma. Supercharged particles that have lost their electron, which enables them to conduct, or the structures that they create, it enables it to transmit electricity or energy.
I can see that sort of side of it, but in my way of seeing it is that plasma is made of subatomic particles at different levels of density and different types of particles according to the level in creation you're looking at. But rather than broken atoms, they are at the lowest level partially constructed atoms. So the atoms are part at the end chain of a construction process, and plasma is a phase before the atomic one.
So I didn't say they were broken, I just said they had lost the electron.
Yes, I understand, but I'm saying that the alternative way of looking at it is an atom being made that hasn't yet got that electron. It's heads, it's the other side of the coin. I'm not disagreeing with that in principle. They're incomplete atoms. But that's the lowest level of plasma. And there are plenty higher ones which aren't anything like atoms.
Then why is it called plasma if it's not made of the same stuff? Should there be different names for the different states?
Of plasma?
Yeah.
I don't know if if my internet's breaking up, or because I'm getting very choppy vocals now. So you want to repeat that, David?
Might be better with my video off. Is that better? No, it's not better.
Keep talking and then we'll find out.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I forgot what I was going to say now. Yes, what if there are different forms of plasma? Is it wrong for it just to be called plasma, or should there be different? So plasma type 1, plasma type 2, plasma type 3, kind of.
Forgive me, my system dropped out completely and it's just come back. So I missed what was the last minute almost.
I think we ought to save this for a discussion another day, because I think it's past my bedtime. my dog's come up to annoy me.
Okay.
Good. Well, does that bring us to a natural conclusion, Richard?
I think so. Yeah. I think
we're
all got to. It's all past our bedtime, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you all for coming.
A lovely discussion. It was fabulous.
Yes. Yeah. There's always something to talk about with dowsing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for everybody's contribution. It's all very interesting stuff. And yeah, so hopefully we'll see you next time.
Next month, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.